You're 30 feet from the cave entrance. Daylight is right there. But the water in Long Churn Cave is rising fast. Your ropes are tangled, and two cavers, one experienced, one on her very first trip, are about to drown beneath the Yorkshire Dales. On December 27, 2007, two colleagues set out for what was supposed to be an introductory winter caving trip beneath the Yorkshire Dales. The location was Long Churn Cave, a sprawling limestone system etched beneath the flanks of Ingleborough. For generations, Long Churn had been a training ground, wide passages, optional challenges, a place where beginners could safely learn the underground world. But that reputation is a trap. Nature doesn't have a beginner mode. When the hydrology shifts, a training ground can become a terminal tomb in mere seconds. Long Churn is not just one cave, it is a system. Streams run through it, pools deepen without warning, and every passage ultimately feeds into Alum Pot, a vast vertical abyss that swallows water from the surrounding fells. That Thursday morning, the weather above ground was miserable but unremarkable. Steady winter rain, the kind Yorkshire barely notices anymore. The ground was already saturated. The fells had nowhere left to send the water except down. To understand why Long Churn became a death trap, you have to understand the karst topography of the Yorkshire Dales. The limestone here isn't a solid block of stone. It's more like a giant, prehistoric sponge. Over millions of years, acidic rainwater has eaten away at the rock, creating a vertical plumbing system that covers the entire hillside. On a normal day, the limestone absorbs the rain, but on December 27th, the ground was already at its limit. It was saturated. This meant that every new drop of rain falling on the fells didn't soak in. It cascaded instantly into the nearest sinkhole. In an environment like this, a cave doesn't just get wet. It becomes a hydrodynamic funnel, concentrating miles of surface runoff into a single, narrow limestone throat. 33-year-old Stuart John Goodwill knew these systems well. He'd been caving for 16 years. He trained others. He installed safety anchors that were used across Britain. Underground, he was calm, methodical, experienced. With him was Caroline Jane Fletcher, 28, bright, adventurous, and eager. She was a colleague, a friend, and this was her first true potholing trip. Stuart had all the right equipment. So did Caroline. Nothing about that morning suggested it would be their last. Imagine stepping into Long Churn that day. The light fades quickly. The temperature drops. The sound of surface wind disappears, replaced by the steady hiss of moving water. Streams lace the cave floor, shallow at first, cold but manageable. They move through lower Long Churn, the easier section. This isn't the infamous cheese press squeeze. This is the part school groups walk through, the part people describe as forgiving. But even forgiving caves have moods. The water level is higher than usual, not alarming, just noticeable. Boots sink deeper, pools lap higher against rock walls. Every step sends ripples across surfaces that are normally calm. Outside, the rain continues. In the Yorkshire Dales, rain doesn't need to be heavy to be dangerous. When the ground is already soaked, every drop runs straight into the cave system. Water that fell miles away is now racing underground toward the same narrow passages. Underground, there's no sky to read, no clouds to watch, only the sound. And slowly that sound begins to change. It starts as a low-frequency hum, vibrating through the soles of your boots. Then, it grows into a roar that mimics the sound of a distant jet engine. In the darkness, the water changes color. It's no longer clear, but a thick, opaque brown, churned up by cave milk and ancient silt. As the spray hits their headlamps, the beams scatter. Your world, which used to be 50 feet of illuminated passage, shrinks to just 3 feet of flickering, chaotic white light. The smell changes too. The neutral scent of wet stone is replaced by the sharp, metallic tang of minerals and disturbed earth. At this point, communication becomes impossible. You can't shout over the water. You can only see the white of your partner's eyes and the frantic movement of their light. The stream deepens. The current pulls harder at their legs. The water grows darker, more aggressive. What was ankle-deep becomes knee-deep. What was manageable becomes work. At some point, Stuart and Caroline realize what's happening. This isn't just a wet cave anymore. It's flooding. In caves, when water rises, there are two choices. You wait, or you move. Waiting means trusting that the flood pulse will pass, that water levels will peak and fall. But waiting also means exposure, cold, exhaustion, and fear. Moving means committing. It means betting that you can reach daylight before conditions become impossible. Sometime near Dam Pool in Lower Long Churn, barely 30 feet from the entrance, they make their decision. They try to leave. The water is now a fast-flowing stream, pushing against their bodies. The rock underfoot is slick limestone, polished smooth by centuries of flow. Visibility is poor, the noise is deafening. Ropes come out, safety lines meant to help them traverse the flooded section. But caves shrink under pressure, space disappears, water pushes you off balance, cold steals strength from your hands, and in those conditions, coordination matters more than strength. One slip, just one. We'll never know who lost their footing first. Maybe Caroline, smaller, colder, less experienced. Maybe Stuart, trying to brace her, refusing to let go. What we do know is this: one fall pulled the other, the ropes tangled, and both were dragged into the water together. When water moves through a narrow cave passage, it follows the laws of fluid dynamics. As the space gets smaller, the velocity increases. At just 6 miles per hour, moving water can exert over 500 pounds of force against a human body. When you add ropes into that equation, you create a mechanical nightmare known as a V-trap. Once the safety lines became tangled, they weren't lifelines anymore. They were anchors. As the current pushed Stuart and Caroline downstream, the ropes caught on the rock, cinching tight against their chests. The physics are brutal. The harder the water pushes, the tighter the rope holds you under. In 5-degree water, your hands lose their fine motor skills in minutes. Trying to untie a knotted, tensioned rope while being hammered by a waterfall is a feat that even the strongest athlete in the world likely couldn't achieve. In 5-degree water, panic isn't loud. It's immediate. Cold shock steals breath. Muscles lock. The current presses bodies against rock. Ropes that were meant to save now trap arms and legs, twisting tighter with every movement. Stuart was strong, experienced, but caves don't reward experience when physics turns against you. He wouldn't have left her. Coroner testimony later suggested that an experienced caver, faced with a freezing novice friend, walking away to seek help would have been unthinkable. So he stayed, and the water kept rising. Above them, rain continued to fall across an entire amphitheater of fells, all draining into the same underground bowl. The streamway transformed into a torrent, filling the passage almost completely. Air pockets vanished. The cave, once an introduction, became a trap. By the time rescuers arrived hours later, the system had already claimed them. Stuart's wife raised the alarm just after midnight when he failed to return home. By 1 a.m., the cave rescue organization mobilized. 20 experienced rescuers descended into the flooded system, moving quickly, knowing every minute mattered. At 3:20 a.m., they found them, tangled together in the streamway of Lower Long Churn, still wearing helmets, still tied into the ropes. Both had drowned. They were less than a minute from the entrance. The verdict, delivered later by the coroner, was accidental death. No equipment failure, no recklessness, just a sequence of decisions made under pressure, inside a system that changed faster than anyone expected. They were less than a minute away from daylight. But underground, being close to the exit doesn't mean you're close to safety.